short for Arrive Lolita.
Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today I will be discussing the most controversial Lolita fashion sub-style. Many people don't even want to acknowledge it, don't even want it in the Lolita fashion community, and just straight up hate on people who wear this specific fashion style. This is an open discussion. You are entitled to your own opinion, so if you disagree with me, let me know. If you agree with me, let me know. Before we even talk about this mysterious fashion style, let's talk about the core beliefs and aspects of Lolita fashion. Usually it's a dress or a skirt that follows a cupcake shape or bell-shaped dress. You accomplish this by wearing a petticoat. Entire cord is often categorized by wearing a blouse under a JSK, covering your shoulders, wearing a headpiece, and basically having your entire body kind of covered in some level of fabric. Wrist cuffs, headpiece, necklace, bloomers, socks that are usually going over the knee. Definitely a sort of look to a Lolita fashion coordinate. And what are its core beliefs and values? So Lolita fashion is basically a style that focuses on embracing one's femininity in a non-sexualized manner. Basically there to refuse to subscribe to the norm of mature femininity, to kind of counter the expectations that is placed on women to dress a certain way, to express yourself in a certain way. You know, it's basically going against that. Some key points are essentially non-sexualization of the fashion, modesty, empowering the wearer without having to worry about being objectified, without it being the male gaze, if you will. Because women have this sort of expectation placed on them when hitting a certain age that you can no longer have all these frills, bows. That is like the core belief of Lolita fashion. Lolita fashion has been around for a really long time, at least the idea of Lolita fashion, since about the 1970s, but it more so started out as something called Carolmikuu, which you can all look back on in my other video where I describe it a little bit more further. Carolmikuu was basically what started it, and then it kind of slowly but surely transitioned into Lolita fashion and all the sub-styles that we love and adore today. So now that we know what Lolita fashion is supposed to be, let's talk about Ero Lolita, because I've been very vague about it. I know, I'm sorry. Ero Lolita is short for erotic Lolita. Maybe you could have guessed that already, but yeah, so Ero Lolita is erotic Lolita. It focuses on adding slightly erotic elements to one's coordinate. More revealing skirts, fetish wear, corsets, any kind of vinyl or vinyl fabric, their collars, handcuffs for accessories, you know, all these types of more erotic slash scandalous pieces. So by more revealing clothes, maybe your alarm bells are already going off, it is not meant as in it's inappropriate, like you cannot walk around outside. It is more so a more revealing in terms of Lolita fashion. Like, you're allowed to have cleavage showing. It's normal to have your shoulders out. It is totally acceptable to have skirts shorter than the average Lolita dress. The key idea of Ero Lolita is, despite it being more erotic and also revealing, it still maintains a level of modesty. I have some Gothic and Lolita Bibles right here where you can actually see some examples of what Ero Lolita could also represent. The cover art of this Gothic and Lolita Bible is very much giving Ero Lolita. This one I'm not entirely sure of, but I found a pattern as well. And as you can see, the skirt is much shorter, and also the bust area is far more exposed, leaving some cleavage. In my opinion, could be also styled in a Ero Lolita way. I also found this really great and informative video by Bay Area Key, and they showed many different examples of Gothic and Lolita Bibles, some straight snaps of older Ero Lolita cores. You can definitely see a theme here with petticoat styling, bloomers, shorter skirts, and also corsetry, which I think is really interesting. It is not uncommon for an Ero Lolita style to not have the typical Lolita shape to it, either the cupcake or the A-line shape. So Ero Lolita sometimes just cancels out the whole skirt in the first place and just goes straight to undergarments, which is not, I guess, uncommon. That's why a lot of people get really frustrated with the fashion, because they see it not following the silhouette and therefore they don't believe it fits under the Lolita category, I guess. It is not uncommon to see in these EGL or, you know, magazines, Lolita magazines, Gothic and Lolita Bibles, street snaps of Lolitas who are not following the typical silhouette or even the rules. And that brings me to a really important differentiation. Now, Lolitas in the West and Lolitas in Japan have, historically speaking, very much approached the subject and the discussion regarding rules very differently. And I'm talking as a Westerner, so obviously my authority on speaking on this is very limited because I only have first-hand experiences on the Western community, but I still know from reading online and also interacting with some Japanese Lolitas that they are not as strict regarding the rules as we are. And also seeing some evidence in the Gothic and Lolita Bibles or other magazines from that time that in these street snaps it is entirely visible that there's many people who simply have always gone against the grain or not followed the typical Lolita silhouette by leaving out petticoats, leaving out blouses. Western community has always been really heavily focused on rules and regulation. I have made actually an entire video on Idas and rules and that whole spiel, so if you want to take a look at it, definitely do. But to kind of run it down, Lolitas back then really tried to gatekeep the fashion, to make it almost as inaccessible as possible because of the fear of being sexualized or having posers enter the community. They wanted to be taken seriously. Back then, and even now today, you have to understand that, especially in the Western community, the book Lolita was having a chokehold on people. That was the first thing people thought of if you said the word or the term Lolita. It was a major stigma, which still persists today. These Lolitas were obviously actively trying to fight against it by establishing all of these modesty rules, such as, always wear a blouse under your JSK, have the dress be as long as your knees, to really try not make themselves be sexualizable, which understandable because that's what the fashion is about. So I absolutely understand why bringing some eroticism purposefully into a space like that with all these connotation feels a little bit wrong. This kind of mindset still persists today. Lolita fashion as it exists is very men repellent. It is not in the male gaze, and by bringing something that is, erotic, a bit more male gazy, certainly stirs some feathers. Is that how you say it? I actually don't know if that's how you say it. Ruffles some feathers. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. Sorry. Many Lolitas think that by people choosing to wear Ero Lolita, they want male attention because they want to be more sexy. And I think that is already problematic in and of itself, but we're gonna get into why, or kind of dispute some of these claims, but we're gonna get into that when we're gonna get into that. Additionally, many people do not like that it is so revealing. Also, the problem of bringing fetish wear into the fashion, because although it can be absolutely done correctly and also beautifully, it can also be done very wrong very quickly, and also associating fetish with Lolita fashion. Ero Lolita should always have a level of modesty and also a level of appropriate wear. I believe the reason so many people are so against Ero Lolita is because they have this made-up, fictitious Lolita in their head that are just going way too far. And I think I want to defend Ero Lolitas here for a second and kind of bring you in to some of the things that I believe to be true. First things first, Ero Lolitas are never super exposing. They are still maintaining a Victorian era feel by even just choosing to wear undergarments. Let me explain. Around the 1850s and also the 1860s, the undergarments, especially the more bell-shaped skirt that we now more refer to as hoop skirt, but back in the day it was, I think, more like a cage crinoline, something like that. We see this very often within Lolita fashion, especially the Ero Lolitas that are wearing this over their bloomers. These women have worn this as undergarments. Of course, it's almost always exaggerated today because we choose to have maybe more colorful aspects or, a little inaccurate time period wise, but the general idea has always been around, and therefore it still is going for that Victorian era feel, which I personally really like and think is really great. I do have to agree that it not having the typical Lolita shape is a little bit strange to me myself, because right now I try to match the theme And I wouldn't consider this Lolita. While yes, I'm wearing my wrist cuffs, and yes, I'm wearing my cute little choker, and the rings that I wear with Lolita fashion, and a vintage nightgown, I'm also wearing a corset. I just don't feel like I'm wearing Lolita fashion, and more so wearing something Lolita adjacent, not quite Lolita fashion. Lolita fashion and the music scene are going almost hand in hand. I found this really great article on this, which is very much worth your time. If you want to check it out, definitely do. I absolutely agree, because Mana-sama had definitely an impact on the Lolita fashion community, and also the way people wear it, especially Gothic and Ero Lolita. I think that the influences from the Western Gothic community are very, very apparent within Ero Lolita and also Gothic Lolita, but honestly more so Ero. Because if you make the argument that Ero Lolitas are inherently sexual and want to be sexualized, I think you should ask yourself why you believe this. Because you add slight elements of eroticism or more erotic elements to yourself doesn't mean that you inherently wish to be sexualized. Like my corset that I'm wearing right now, I'm not wearing because I want male attention. I'm wearing it because I think it's cute and I like it. So the question really is, are they asking for male attention, or are they simply wearing a different Lolita fashion style with more Gothic elements that are very, very normal in those communities? Because if you think about Gothic fashion, they also have different subcultures, such as romantic goth, cyber goth, trad goth. Not every single goth person is wearing corsetry and leather or even latex outfits. Some are, but that doesn't make them inherently sexual or wanting to be sexualized. It is just a stylistic choice simply because it's cute and they like it and it kind of fits the vibe, you know what I mean? The comparison that this author brings up, I find a really good example. That's why I'm going to repeat it here to you. The same thing or a similar thing with how many jewelry is cross-themed, but it's not everyone is wearing it for religious purposes. Gothic community, even many Lolitas, are wearing crosses. A lot of angelic, pretty, and baby pieces have cross imagery in there as well, but it has absolutely nothing to do with Christianity or a god. It is simply for aesthetic purposes. I think you can view Ero Lolitas and some of the elements that they have in their cords as a similar stylistic choice. And yes, I do think that there's gray areas where things might, go a little too far in one direction and a little far to another direction, and it feels like it's losing its Lolita value or its Lolita aesthetic. I do agree, there's definitely some, chords that I don't really fully like or I'm not a fan of, but nonetheless, there's definitely a place for Ero Lolita, in my opinion. I think Ero Lolita is not inherently a bad subculture or a bad sub-style. I believe that it's just breaking a little bit the norm from Lolita. So I found a Lolita post that basically states, can I get the opinions of older Lolitas on Ero Lolita? It's a little controversial, but I just want to know what y'all think about it. Very rarely does it look good. It's cute and fun in concept, but doesn't always work. When someone pulls it off, it really does look good though. I mix with Ero. I hate short skirts, but I love the exposed shoulders. Rarely looks good. It's just icky. I don't know, it doesn't even look good. For real, the point of Lolita was not to be by men, and Ero Lolita kind of defeats the whole purpose. Many Lolitas simply don't like it, they think it is against the Lolita movement, they think it is horrible, and they think it basically puts a bad rap on all of Lolitas. I personally think that if it is well executed and a well executed chord that still has a level of modesty attached to it, that still represents the Lolita fashion values, then I think there's really nothing wrong with Ero Lolita. You can say that Ero Lolita should be separate to Lolita. You can also say that Ero Lolita is part of Lolita. No matter how you spin it, it exists, and it will continue to exist, and people will continue to wear it. The only thing that I want, I guess, with this video and also with people who wear it, that it all stays respectful, because all the videos, or most of the videos I've seen online on Ero Lolita are very respectful. So I hope you guys liked this video. I hope it was interesting, and I hope it gave you a little bit of a different perspective on Ero Lolita, and maybe if you were a strong Ero Lolita hater, it kind of made you reconsider, I don't know. But yeah, definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I made any mistakes in this video. Definitely tell me. And also thank you so much for the recent love under my videos. It's been really cool and really fun, so yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, I hope I can see you in the next one. Bye bye!